Hello there, I'm Brad Morse and I work at the University of Colorado at the Centers for American Indian and Alaska Native Programs, and I'm making this video today for session number 6, Making and Tossing Beanbags. This session should take about 50 to 60 minutes in planning for the entirety of all the activities that the youth will go through. It's a good thing to think about this session in two different parts. The first part will be making the beanbag, and that involves counting, arithmetic, math, sorting, and the second part of the session is to have fun with the beanbags, making and creating your own tossing games. During that part of the session, the youth will be able to use their creative minds and really think of new ways to use the beanbag in tossing games. They can use targets, or they can do a bullseyes, or they can make a game where each target represents so many points and keep score. So there's a lot of ways to extend the learning in this particular session. As always in After School Science Plus, a key component of the sessions is the vocabulary words. These words are intended to be used to introduce the youth to new words that are used in science, allowing them to discuss the concepts and the ideas that After School Science covers. So let's go through the vocabulary words right now. First we have classify. Classify, to arrange or distribute objects, events, or information into categories according to a given system. Lima beans are classified as beans because they share certain characteristics with other types of beans. For example, they grow in pods like kidney beans or string beans. Compare. When students discuss likenesses and differences between types of beans, they are comparing them. Comparisons of beans can be made in terms of shape, color, size, or weight. Estimate. To make a rough calculation about the size, extent, or nature of specific objects. When students guess how many beans are in a jar or in their hand, they are making an estimate. Measure. To find out the size, extent, or amount of something by comparing it to a conventional standard. A standard measuring cup is a conventional measurement tool. It tells you that you have 8 ounces of 250 milliliters of beans, or any other substance. If students count floor tiles to see how far a beanbag went, they're using an unconventional standard to measure distance. So in that example, one would measure the length of one tile, say it's 6 inches, and then there's 4 tiles that they threw the beanbag, so that's 6, 12, 18, 24 inches. Motor coordination. How muscles work together to accomplish a task. Gross motor coordination refers to large movements, throwing a ball, tossing a beanbag, climbing. Fine motor coordination refers to small, precise movements, such as cutting, pasting, putting together puzzles. Students develop both fine and gross motor coordination skills by making and tossing beanbags. The throwing motion is a gross, and the cutting of the sock is a fine coordination. Sorting. Putting a group of objects together on the basis of any characteristic they have in common, e.g. color, shape, or size. When students put away play materials, they may sort them. For example, Legos go in the same cabinet with other building toys. Stuffed animals of all kinds go together. Crayons and markers go with art materials. That's an example of sorting. And our last word for session number 6 is understanding the position of objects in relation to each other or to oneself. This skill is important for estimating how much space should be allotted for a given task, like tossing a beanbag or a target or a ball into a basket. Athletes who practice their skill, tossing, batting, running, develop excellent spatial relations skills. So for the next part of this video, we're going to go through the process of actually creating a beanbag. Okay, so the time has arrived that we make the beanbags. You'll have all your materials out on the table, presented to the youth as they come into the club so that they get excited about the notion of another after-school science session. The materials we've gone through before, you'll want to take your beans and put them in different type of containers. I'm using cups here, but you can use anything within your toolkit or at your club. What you're going to do is instruct the youth on how to make the beanbag. You'll take your discarded sock and you'll cut the top of the sock off with some scissors, like so. And then you'll take one of the measuring cups, you'll have 1 cup or half cup, and you'll instruct the youth to put 1 full cup of beans into the measuring cup. Like so. Open up the sock and drop the beans into the sock, which can be a little bit difficult. And it's okay if you make a mess, it's fun. And the youth will help clean up at the end. Slide the beans into the top of the sock. If you didn't cut enough of the sock off, you can always make another cut, which I'll need to do. And it's probably better to leave more room than less so that you can make a more precise cut for the size of the beanbag that you're aiming to get. Okay. Once you've made your cut, you'll want to get one of the rubber bands in the toolkit. And securely fasten the rubber band around the top of the beanbag so that the beans don't go flying out during the tossing portion of our session. And voila, a beanbag. Now it's time to make some games for the beanbags. So you'll get some materials around the club. You can use boxes or some of the pans that you have in the toolkit, and you'll assign them numbers or points for accuracy, and you can assign one of the youth to record scores on a piece of butcher paper or a dry erase board or a chalkboard, whatever is available at your club. Okay. The second part of session number 6 is creating games to play with the beanbags. There's many different things you can do. I wanted to give some examples of things I thought up that the youth could do just to get the ball rolling. I think that you'll see once the youth get involved with making their own games and discussing the rules, negotiating what those rules mean and assigning scores, I think that will allow the youth to really have an opportunity to create their own games and have fun with it. So if the youth are having a hard time getting going in creating their own games, here's an example of what you may do. So this is the floor at the club, and here's a youth over here. Of course they're happy because they're doing after school science. You might find 3 different boxes and arrange them on the floor at 5 feet out, 10 feet out, and 15 feet out. So that'll allow you an opportunity to talk about distance and how we measure distance, another thing that's often done in science. And then you can ask the youth to assign scores for throwing the beanbag into each box. This first box, for example, would get 5 points. The middle box would get 10, and the third box would get 15. Then each youth gets an opportunity to throw their beanbag into any of the boxes. Maybe they get 3 or 5 different turns. And kids can start to share their beanbags, so there's multiple throws for one turn. And that's another good thing about this session is implementing sharing, which is always a good skill for youth to have. Along with the vocabulary words for session number 6, plus the creative piece of creating your own games and the other different types of expansion opportunities, this is a really great session that I think the youth will truly enjoy. Now, the manual does say it should take about an hour, but I have a feeling that after the youth get involved in making their own games and doing creative play, that time could be much longer than 60 minutes. So, you never know. Well, I hope that you enjoy session number 6, Making and Tossing Bean Bags. This is Brad Morse at the University of Colorado Centers for American Indian and Alaska Native Health signing off and saying, have a nice day. Thank you.